Record. All right, guys. Appreciate you all joining me today, and thanks for taking this time. Thanks to Joel for having me on. We've been friends for a number of years, and excited to be kind of sharing with the community. Whether you've seen me for the hot and cold plunges at StayGold, I've been around. I was also, just to give you a little bit about me, my background. I was a PT training at StayGold, working with my clients. And now I've pivoted to fully online. So this is kind of my space. This is what I do today. And I wanted to talk to you all about habits and nutrition. So what it's kind of all about. And again, like I mentioned in the beginning, feel free to open up your mics anytime. We're going to keep it super informal. If you have any specific questions that you came today with, feel free to ask. So I'm going to share my screen here. And just give me a thumbs up. You guys able to see it? Okay. Awesome. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who I am. So like I mentioned in the beginning of this call, Kate, thanks for joining as well. I started off in finance. That was my background right out of school. I was in business, determined to kind of wear that suit and tie, and thought that's kind of where I would go in life. And then sure enough, fast forward almost 8 years later, I realized I kind of had that sudden change of heart. 2013, I was in a pretty bad ski accident, and forced to kind of reevaluate what exactly I wanted to do with my life. I sustained a traumatic brain injury, and through that recovery process, kind of pivoted into what mindful method is today, and learned kind of how to recover, how to heal the body, learned how to train and get over a crazy injury that took me years, not weeks, to kind of get through. So pivoted into fitness in 2018, and Joel and I met years ago. I can't even remember. I think at the Academy Alliance way back when it was on Ossington. So we go way back, and funny enough, Joel's kind of seen me all throughout my career, and kind of how I've pivoted, how I've transformed myself, and now how I'm kind of coaching and helping others in the community and worldwide. So I started 2018 in fitness. I was a personal trainer in person. I was counting your reps. I was counting your sets on the floor. I worked at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, SWAT Health, which is actually no longer on Queens Quay. They relocated to the Junction, but this is kind of where I learned how to work with people and help them build their strength first and foremost. What I took away from that, so for 3 to 4 years, I did PT, and realized I couldn't help people to the best of their ability, right? I saw them maybe 2 to 3 times a week for 1 hour in person, but what were they doing with the rest of their time? How are they eating? How are they sleeping? Were they moving consistently on a daily basis? How are they managing stress? And what did their sleep quality look like? So I realized I couldn't give people what they wanted, what they needed to help them transform into, I call it, their 2.0 version of themselves. So what I've kind of evolved and built is my 12-week online coaching program. It's mindful method is what it's all about in a nutshell. And if you aren't muted, please mute yourself if you're just joining in. And this is how I help all genders kind of improve their health and fitness. Not just, my tagline is to help you lose belly fat and build some lean muscle, but really to help you make those changes to set yourself up long term. It's not a fast diet, and it's not a quick fix. So that's kind of a little bit about me. These are some of the common problems I hear. So I've got a funny picture of Homer Simpson having a drink. So I don't have enough time in the day. I hear this nonstop. I'm not sure what to eat or how to eat. Weekends are a challenge. We're in the middle of summer now. I'm sure you all are enjoying patios, or you're up north, you're on vacation, and maybe finding it a little bit harder to kind of stick to your routine. I don't know how to build a routine that works for my schedule. I don't have time for the gym or workouts. I do cardio 5 to 6 days a week in hopes of losing belly fat. I hear this all the time. I don't have a training program that specifically focuses on what I want to accomplish. Maybe, you're watching YouTube videos, you're following. I know StayGold has a great training program with Marcus Philly, I believe. That sounds awesome, but maybe it's not getting you to where you want to go. Maybe you've hit a plateau. Maybe you're stuck. I don't know what to eat when I'm eating out or on vacation. I hear this probably once a week. Do I have to cut out foods I love, or do I have to restrict my diet to see the results? And I don't get groceries. It takes too long to cook. Meal prep, I'm not even sure how. And then alcohol throws off routine. Again, alcohol, especially in the middle of summer, it is a big one and a big challenge. Again, I hear often. So yeah, are there any questions there for anyone who's just joining? Keeping this super informal. If you could turn on your videos, it would be awesome to see some faces. Appreciate you guys all joining. Any questions there? Feel free to open up your mic. Otherwise, I will continue. All right, I'll continue. So going into basic habits, this is one of the first things I identify and go through, whether it's a prospective client or a client just starting with me, is what are you actually doing on a daily basis? Forget about the workouts. Forget about what you're eating, but are you moving enough? I'm sure a number of you are all wearing some wearable tech, whether you've got an Apple Watch, a Fitbit, a heart rate monitor. Our phones even are a great metric and reminder of how much we're actually moving on a daily basis. So if you're crushing your workouts, if you're doing, 5 workouts a week, you're doing an hour a day, that's not necessarily enough movement for the body. Humans were meant to move on a consistent basis, and now kind of as the world's evolved, we're sitting a lot more every single day. Maybe you're sitting at your desk for 8 hours a day, and then you're going to the gym for an hour and you feel like, that's enough. It's clearly not enough. So walking, minimum 30 minutes a day. Arnold Schwarzenegger talks about this all the time. If you can do one thing that's going to change your life, that's free, that's convenient, start by walking 30 minutes a day. My 70-year-old dad can do it, and he's blind in one eye, and he has no problem walking 10,000 steps. So 10,000 steps is also an arbitrary number. There's not a lot of research on that, but if you're walking 10,000, that's a great metric so that I actually know you're moving a fair bit on a daily basis. Hydration, especially, if you're in Toronto here with the warmer weather, and it being very hot at some days and some points where you're sweating a lot. So drinking water alone is not enough. Replacing electrolytes is what the body needs to feel better, to optimize, to recover faster, and to perform at more of an elite level if that's what you're working towards. So water with a little bit of lemon, a little bit of Himalayan salt is a great, easy way, natural electrolyte. You don't have to go out and spend a lot of money on supplements, and supplements is another whole can of worms I could talk about. Sleep. Sleep is another one that's super underrated, right? If you're not hitting minimum 7 hours of quality sleep a night, there's absolutely no way you can work out as much as you want, eat as much healthy food, but if you're not nailing your sleep, forget about making any progress. So I really try to dial in sleep first and foremost in the beginning with clients, and understand and meet them where they're at, right? If you're getting 7 hours, but you're up, with your kids, or you're up in the middle of the night to go to the washroom, or you just can't fall asleep, these are kind of indicators that you might need to start rethinking your entire sleep routine. Of course, full body strength training, right? If you're not training at StayGold, it's an awesome gym. Strength first and foremost is like the protein on your plate. We'll get into food. Strength helps you build muscle. It's the way to unlock that longevity in life, right? So if you're not prioritizing strength training, minimum 3 times a week, I'm a huge advocate of full body strength training. You might need to rethink your kind of fitness routine. Home cooked meals, right? So often we find ourselves, it's convenient to go out socially. In the summers, we're going out a lot. A new restaurant opens up. great. I'm not going to tell you not to go try, a new restaurant or a favorite food you want to have when eating out. But if you're cooking 80% of your meals every week, so 17 of 21 meals, I can almost guarantee you're going to make progress. And then mindfulness, right? What mindful method is all about is more about doing things with intention and trying to do one thing at a time. As busy as we get, we often find, myself included, caught up in doing 20 things at the same time. And then, of course, nothing gets done to the best of our ability. Taking 5 minutes a day, if you want to call it meditation, if you want to call it focused breathing, if you want to call it sitting in a cold tub at StayGold for 5 minutes, that is an awesome form of meditation. So focusing on your breath is something I lost in 2013 and something I'm constantly reminded of to do on a daily basis. And this is what I encourage all my clients to do. So I'm going to stop talking there. Any questions there? Anything that stands out to everyone today, or whoops? I'll keep going then. Let me get my so getting into nutrition. So I like to keep nutrition simple. I know people's eyes can really gloss over when you start talking about macronutrients, micronutrients, but really at the end of the day is eating real whole food on your plate. So again, if you're eating out a number of times a week, questioning what's actually going into your food, right? Are there certain oils? Are there certain added sugars, certain ingredients that you have no idea what's going on? And then you're wondering at the end of the week, did I eat healthy? Why am I not making progress? I'm hitting my workouts, but I don't actually know what's going in my mouth at the end of the day. So macronutrients, your macros, some of you may have heard, protein, carbs, and fats. These are the big staples on your plate that you want to be thinking about. This is what I really try to coach clients on, is eating with intention. So high protein meals every single meal, right? If your specific goal is to preserve muscle mass, build muscle, and maintain and just feel better in your body. If you're working through belly fat, you have a little bit of inflammation, so a little bit of puffiness in the body, I can almost guarantee you're likely not eating enough protein on your plate at the end of the day. So micronutrients looks like vitamins and minerals that kind of make up the rest of your foods. Calories, right? If you're thinking about calories, tracking calories, how much calories am I eating? Should I eat in a calorie deficit? Calories really are the energy the body's taking in at the end of the day for you to actually use. If you're not actually using those calories, that energy at the end of the day, it's going to turn into fat, plain and simple, right? And belly fat, which I commonly see with clients, is visceral fat spilling over into your organs, which is actually the most dangerous kind of fat, especially for men. So if you're in that kind of position, you may need to rethink kind of how you're eating, what you're eating, and how much you're actually taking in on a daily basis. If you're sitting at your desk all day, do you really need to eat 3 meals, 3 different snacks, and then have a late night snack after your dinner? I would argue probably not. A balanced diet, right? So a variety of foods from all the food groups, right? Including fruits and veggies, whole grains, lean protein, and healthy fats, right? So if you're neglecting one or you're cutting carbs, I hear this all the time and it's big on social media, you may temporarily lose water weight. You may temporarily lose a significant amount of weight, but I can almost guarantee that you will revert back to where you were prior to cutting a certain food group out or trying a certain diet, for instance. Hydration. So part of nutrition is actually hydrating the body. We're made up of majority of water at the end of the day. So if you're not hydrating enough, you're likely probably going to be eating a lot more and not paying attention to how you feel. That, if you take anything away from this chat today, is eating based on how you feel every single day. There's no one right, perfect formula. It's all about figuring out what feels best for you, for your gut, for digestion, and for recovery, more importantly. Bio-individuality. So this speaks to more of no one thing cookie cutter approach works for everyone. The way I work with clients is very different from each client. And what might work for Joel may not necessarily work for Larissa. So you've got to take it on an individual basis. So noticing what foods feel good for you. How do you feel after you have a steak? Or a piece of fish, or after you have that big ice cream, right? So it was just noticing, being aware of how the body feels even after a few drinks, right? Can you get up and crush your workout the next day? Do you find it really hard to get out of bed? Is your energy super low? So it's based on your age, your sex, your weight, physical activity, and your experience. Important to learn what really works for you, your digestion. I've been talking a lot more about gut health lately, and based on sensitivities, limitations, and other preferences. So any questions there? I went through a lot right there. I'm trying to deliver as much value as I can to all of you who showed up today. Quiet group today. Any questions, Joel, Larissa, Armando? It's okay. Feel free to open up your mics. You guys know it all, I guess.
I'm curious about the gut health.
What are you curious about there?
Well, right now I've been doing yogurt, but I know that I've been checking out, and I think it's they say better. What's the other one? I'm gonna switch yogurt for something else. And I also hear that it's better to drink it at night than in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Kefir. That I'm about to switch on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, what's your question then? Is it by having yogurt or kefir at certain times of the day?
They know the recommendations for gut health. Like how do you know? I think is one of my biggest problems.
Yeah, that's a great question. So yogurt and kefir is dairy, right? At the end of the day, dairy can sometimes be quite inflammatory and upset your gut, right? It really depends on the person, right? So if you're telling me right now, and I don't want to get into too much of it with you right now, right here, maybe it's we take this conversation aside, but sometimes taking a break from things like dairy might be a great idea. I worked with a functional medicine doctor. I paid him a hell of a lot of money to take a break from sugar, dairy, alcohol. And of course, at the end of 3 months, I felt awesome. I definitely lost a little bit of belly fat. I didn't have a lot to lose, but those are kind of some of the first ones I would look to if your gut isn't agreeing with you. If you're going to the washroom, a couple times more than you typically would. If you have an upset stomach, bloating, these are kind of some indications that the food maybe is not working for you, right? Or maybe it's those ingredients that are in the yogurt or in the kefir. Does that make sense, Armando?
Yeah. The thing is, like, I actually stopped taking dairy for a long time.
Okay.
But then I noticed that my calcium intake was not enough, so I was checking, and so I came back to cheese, to yogurt, and even milk, because I used to drink a lot of milk. When I stopped doing it, it really helped me. But then I was feeling the calcium was not there, so I came back in the last year. So I've been trying to deal with that.
Yeah, so that's where I would question, is yogurt the best option for you there, right? Without going, again, too much into it, maybe it's considering a supplement versus a food in this specific instance, right? If yogurt or kefir is upsetting your stomach or just doesn't agree with you, then that's when I would consider and look towards a supplement. Does that help you?
Yeah.
Okay. Any great question. Any other questions from those who are on today?
Do you have any experience with, Greens Plus or Athletic Greens or anything around that?
Yeah. Greens Plus, Athletic Greens, they're both awesome supplements. There's definitely been a hell of a lot of research. I've personally taken both. These are both great top ups, not a replacement for food. Right. So if you're not able to eat enough greens and get those vitamins and minerals on a daily basis, absolutely. Yeah. Greens Plus, Athletic Greens are great products, and differentiating between good, better, best products out there are sometimes not the easiest in the kind of supplement world. So definitely a big fan of both of those.
Yeah, I was interested in Athletic Greens. Greens Plus is great, and I definitely felt better. Like, it definitely, in addition, just didn't feel like I was getting enough greens in my diet. But athletic greens, I've been, I don't know, using it for the past week, so I'm not really there yet. But the fact that it has like prebiotics and probiotics, might be something. If Armando is looking for some of that probiotic that he's getting from the yogurt, maybe there's there, and then maybe, I don't know, and then finding some other source for calcium. But
yeah, no, that's a great point, and important when you try these supplements to give it some time. It's not a quick fix. It's not going to work overnight. I always revert back to, you can heal the body through food, right? So Armando, in your specific case, maybe just yogurt isn't agreeing with you. Maybe it's finding a different food that actually does feel good, that can give you that calcium top up. And if you can't find it, then maybe it's that last resort of considering something like athletic greens, to give you that additional top up. This is how I talk about supplements. I'm not licensed to recommend, but I can only suggest based on kind of what I've done and what I've done with clients. So yeah, great point, Joel. Great question. Anything else there?
Sorry, just a couple things. There's so we have a client that's done really well figuring out that his inflammation reason why he was sore was wheat, and he cut that out. And I don't know if you've met Tim in the classes, but he's like a person. He's he's pretty excited about it. But going through this whole process and sort of trying one thing, seeing how you feel, eliminating one thing, seeing how you feel, that kind of stuff, it's like it can go a long way. And also age, like as we get older, like I'm in my 40s now, I gotta, things are quite different than when I was in my 20s or 30s. So because you weren't allergic to something doesn't mean you aren't now. So something to be aware of. Yeah,
again, that's a really good point. And that's what I've done with certain like alternative therapists, whether it's a naturopath, my mom's a nutritionist, functional medicine doctors. They will identify key triggers in the body from foods that you could be a little bit sensitive to, that you could be allergic to, that could just not be agreeing with your gut health. So something like, and this is a little bit more than I'd like to talk about, but like a food sensitivity test will give you an idea. And for you, example, Armando, maybe dairy just doesn't agree with you, and it's a high sensitivity for you. And this is where we would look at different options. So yeah, really good point, Joel, of sometimes taking a break from a certain food is a great idea. That doesn't mean it's a break forever. It's a break for 3 months, for 6 months. And then once the gut kind of heals, digestion feels better, you're reducing that extra puffiness or inflammation, then perhaps trying to reintroduce that food slowly and gradually into, a couple meals in a given week. So yeah, great point. I'm going to continue to move on unless there's any other questions there. All right. So these are some common questions I typically get. And I just kind of wanted to dig in to kind of give you all a better sense of, how I can help and what maybe you're dealing with, and share kind of my experience. So what's a stress control routine, right? This is something we don't really talk about a lot. This is something I identify with clients that, when things really pile up, I'm either reaching for, the cookies in the cupboard, or I'm ordering Uber Eats, or I'm just, I'm eating to manage my stress, right? So how, Joe has made and cultivated a really cool environment and community at StayGold, something like the hot cold, right? The hot cold experience, cold plunges. I've started bringing clients, and some of you have seen me there. Some of you I've done sessions with, but incorporating some kind of active recovery day, which does not mean lying horizontal on the couch for 8 hours. Considering movement. So, yoga is awesome. There's some amazing yoga studios in the city. Doing and practicing yoga for more of just kind of working on your breathing versus an actual workout. Hot, cold to kind of regulate the body, to reduce, anxiety, depression, mental health issues that might come up. Things like writing, right? So journaling, if you want to call it journaling, really helps just to kind of write out your thoughts. If you're struggling with your sleep routine, perhaps writing out what kind of went well today, what you'd like to work on tomorrow. Alternative, we've got a few people joining. Thanks for joining, guys. Alternative forms of therapy. So if you have benefits, I can't encourage my clients enough to use their benefits. This is what you guys all work so hard for. Things like chiro, physio, acupuncture, Chinese acupuncture, I do on a regular basis. and it's really kind of improved my performance and recovery. So use these. You don't need to be injured. This is another big point I talk about. You don't need to be injured to go see physio, to get a massage, to see a chiropractor. These are preventative ways to help the body recover faster so that you can get back to the gym and crush your next best lift. I always come back to LeBron James spends over $1 million a year in just recovery modalities, right? So whether it's massage, whether it's physio, whether it's hot cold, whether it's the chambers, the hyperbaric chambers. So there's different ways, and again, for everyone, it's figuring out what feels good for you, and do that and lean into that. I love the hot cold. It doesn't work for everyone. Yoga is also my background. This is kind of where I started my recovery from my traumatic brain injury. It is my roots and my foundation. So manage and how to control stress is a big thing to really consider. You know, how do you be a good role model without being too overbearing? So I hear this a lot working with couples. One is super hardcore into it. The other is maybe not really into it at all, or they just want to enjoy summer, enjoy the patios, enjoy vacation, and not really think too much into it. So this has come up once in a while, and what I always revert back to is focus on what you can control and do it on a consistent basis. If it's something as simple as taking out your dog for a walk first thing in the morning, and ending your days with a walk, that may be a great start to just hone in that habit and consistently do that habit. And, you know, my partner, Steph, always sees, like, I love to start my days with a walk, and I like to end my days with a walk, or, you know, a cold plunge, or maybe a swim. But consistent movement is super important for me, and it's my lifestyle. And she's realized that. So, you know, if you're in maybe your relationship where you're not seeing eye to eye with your partner, or your peer group, or, you know, your friends group, you making it a point, you talking about why this is important to you, to do, you know, a certain amount of steps every day, to do your strength training on a consistent basis, or to say no to that extra drink or dessert because you're committed to focusing and working on your health, really goes a long way, I found. So any questions there on stress? All right, I will continue. Let's see. So where do you start after years of inactivity? So another one, if maybe you're just getting into your workouts at the gym, I know StayGold offers some awesome classes, but again, starting very small. I have some clients actually in their 70s, some in their 20s, 30s that are just getting out of school, and they aren't sure where to start. They've maybe done a few classes before. They've maybe never done anything. Maybe they're overcoming or getting through an injury. So again, realizing what you can do, make it convenient to start, right? So some of my clients, I'll create a program for them to work out at home, whether they're a busy dad or mom, you know, with kids, or busy business owners, and you're very limited in time and you can't get to the gym. So let's create an environment like, you know, my home basement here, for you to get down and go to on a consistent basis. That's super easy for you to go down the stairs and not, you know, get in your car, drive a fair bit to get to the gym, and take a big part out of your day. So, you know, where to start body weight, right? And start very small so that it's not an all or none mentality. This is another big mindset that's come up. When I start working with clients, it's like, if I can't do it all, if I can't crush those 5 workouts, you know, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to make progress, and I'm not going to get results. If you can do 80% of the work, you will make progress. And doing something over nothing is still huge, right? Another thing I talk about is movement snacks. You've been sitting all day, get up out of your chair, you know, do a little bit of a stretch, do a body weight squat, do push-ups, right? Do it for a minute, 30 seconds, whether you're at an office or at home. Just getting outside, going for some fresh air can really elevate and boost your mood. So understanding kind of where you're at, where you want to get to, and what your limitations are kind of a great place to start. How do you tackle challenges of being skinny fat? So this one, in terms of body composition, may be depending on how you're eating, right? So if you're snacking nonstop throughout the day, if you're not prioritizing strength training, you're running, 6 or 7 days a week, you're depleting muscle mass. You're also likely losing fat. So you're you're killing two birds with one stone, and you're not helping yourself. So first of all, I would look at what you're eating. How are you eating? Are you eating high protein meals? And then second of all, I would look at kind of your fitness, right? So what are you actually doing on a weekly basis, and what are you prioritizing first and foremost? So any questions there? Oops. Yeah, feel free to open up your mics. And then this one is so dealing with setbacks when you're mentally set but physically unable. So this one I really really hits home with me when I was overcoming my brain injury. So I could no longer run. I couldn't lift weights. I couldn't ride my outdoor road bike. All the things I love to do, it literally stopped. And that was almost like my warm up for COVID. I was literally for 2 years forced to leave finance, something I had built up and cultivated a business there for the last 8 years. And literally in the blink of an eye, I was forced to leave for good. And I had to focus on what I could control. What I could do, I could ride a stationary bike with minimal intensity, and I could go for walks, and I could practice yoga. And that's exactly where I started. Every single day, writing out a list of 3 things that I could do today to kind of help me progress and literally get to where I am today. So thoughts on emerging diets such as keto. This kind of came up in our call a little earlier today. Diets work. So, I think the bigger part of a diet is making it work for you and being as consistent as you can with it so that you don't fall off and then revert back to how you were eating prior to that. So, whether it's keto, whether it's paleo, whether it's intermittent fasting, low carb or high carb, they all do work. More importantly is finding one that works for you, that agrees with your gut health, and that you can do on a consistent basis, right? That feels good, that doesn't feel too restricting, that feels flexible, that allows you to enjoy the foods you want to eat in moderation, with a little bit of balance, and show up and enjoy that food. So that's pretty much everything I had to speak about today. Of course, happy to open up the floor here for you all and answer any last questions. If not, yeah, Mono?
No, it's about the intermittent fasting. At the end, I don't know. I've been trying it the last couple of months, and just basically because of timing. I think it has helped me because I've been trying to cook at home, but I hate prepared food, so I don't like to do prep. So basically, to me, yeah, I've been just eating once a day because I cook once a day and that's it. But I'm still struggling because I think I'm not gaining anything when I work out, and sometimes I have lack of energy. But that's why I took this talk, right? Because I still need to balance my intake for all whatever I need. Like I need more protein, I need more fat, or something like that. But like I've been struggling working out the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
So, well, I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. I will speak to that. So intermittent fasting absolutely works. Our ancestors fasted until their next meal. So, whether you call it intermittent fasting or not, by the time we go to sleep, by the time we wake up, we're fasting, right? Unless you're eating in the middle of the night or in your sleep, we're actually fasting. So, it's been marketed to do that 16-8 window, right? So 8 hours of an eating window, 16 hours of actually fasting. And yes, it absolutely does work. But what happens is if you're under fueling this is obviously a problem, right? If your energy's low, if you don't feel strong in the gym, then this is when, I would jump in and be like, Armando, we need to reevaluate the game plan. Because yes, you may be losing belly fat because you're condensing your eating window, which is awesome. Having that defined window is great and does absolutely work. But if you're not fueling your tank, if you don't put enough gas in your car, it's not going to go, right? You're not going to be able to do that next best squat or hit a PR or build muscle, right? To actually build muscle, you need to eat and eat enough protein first and foremost. Otherwise, you're going to lose it, right? So Armando, yeah, maybe that's something we speak about after.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest challenge right now. Is I'm figuring out what's going or what's wrong. It's either something I'm not eating or it's something I'm not doing right, because I don't see any gains in the last couple of months.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, this is
it's the problem with energy.
Yeah, this is a great example of how I would dig into it a little bit more with you, right? You mentioned energy's low. You mentioned, I would look at when you're starting your first meal, when your last meal is. Another point I didn't mention, so something I identify in the beginning is a lot of people love to eat at night, right? Setting that target, and there's no one specific time, but ideally avoiding food 2 to 3 hours before bed will set you up for better quality of sleep so that you can wake up and crush your workout the next morning. So if you find in the evenings you're eating dinner and then you're like, I just need a snack, I need something sweet, I need some sugar, or I need another dessert, or I just need another second meal, you're likely not eating enough protein at your meal. And that's a direct link. If you crave sugar in the evenings, I can guarantee you haven't eaten enough protein that day. So for Armando, someone like you, if you're feeling the low energy, if you're feeling depleted in the gym, I encourage you to start eating a little bit more, right? Intermittent fasting will work, but be a little bit flexible with it. You do not have to be super rigid. And then, of course, monitoring and paying attention to. So try one thing is where I would want to start with you. Test it, see how you feel, and then kind of get back to the drawing board to see how you can constantly improve energy, improve your lifts, improve, your gut, right? How it kind of responds to you. So, yeah, great question, Armando. Yeah, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Joel, did you have a question or?
No, it's actually just something that people on this call might be interested in. That we're going to be partnering with Oscar at Athlete's Kitchen to offer.
Awesome.
As a friend of yours, so Athlete's Kitchen, I've used Athlete's Kitchen before. They do like pre-made meals, and really, like all the macros kind of counted for you, kind of like really helps things out. But they also have a like nutritionist helping like design those meals and things like that too. So anyway, more information on that to come and some emails coming up. But I got really great results with that. Obviously, it's got to see what you can afford and make sure that you can it's sustainable. But maybe it's a good way to sort of learn. It's like, oh, these are what balanced meals taste like, and this is how it makes me feel.
Yeah, Oscar, the owner of Athlete's Kitchen, he's awesome. And Armando, for someone like you who's doing meal delivery services, this is a great option if you don't have the time to cook, if you're super busy, if you just don't want to get groceries, right? It saves you a hell of a lot of time when you kind of work out the numbers, right? So yeah, it is a little bit expensive, but if it can save you from going, spending an hour grocery shopping, then cooking your food, then doing the dishes, right? If you don't enjoy any of that, I help you solve that problem. And Oscar is one of the best I've found. Athlete's Kitchen in the city, and it would have been awesome if he could have joined today too. But a number of my clients love his services. The food's awesome. I've tried it, and it's really great to kind of keep you on track. All the macros are there. Everything's locally sourced. He's got a variety of different options. So if you've never tried anything like that, if you're struggling with not knowing what to eat, how to eat, and want to consider something like that at Athlete's Kitchen, I'm a huge advocate of and proponent of. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Joel. It's cool that you're collaborating with him.
I had a quick question about Athlete's Kitchen as well, but I'll start with my first one. You had talked about diets kind of listed, and keto was on the top of the list. I generally haven't had much success with diets in general. Keto is the exception, just like helping lose like a ton of COVID weight that I'd put on. So yeah, it seems to be like a good kickstart. And within a couple months, I notice a lot of results. What I've heard just anecdotally and through some research is, the makeup of it, where it's high fat, is not really sustainable in the long run. Is that something like, do you have thoughts on that, or have you heard that, or is it something that people do for long periods of time?
Yeah. So your question on high fat diet or keto for a
Sorry.
long period of time, or yeah.
Yeah, like the fact that keto has a lot of like high fat and it's
Mhm.
kind of, yeah, parts
Yeah,
of it.
great.
Yes.
Yeah, good question. So keto will work. And more importantly, why it works is because I think people eliminate everything else they've been snacking on or
Yeah.
eating. So you have to eat high protein and you have to eat high fat. And coincidentally, eating high protein, high fat, and low carb, the only way for the body to absorb, if you're eating a lot of protein and you're not feeling great, is to have a high fat diet so you can actually absorb those nutrients. Um, Keto, I would say, is not sustainable for a long period of time for most people, right?
Okay.
Carnivore is another one that's been super trendy lately. And again, why these work is because they really focus you on zeroing in on really one or two different types of foods,
Yeah.
right? So, how I talk about these is, try them. I've tried them all. They will work. They will get you results. But can you sustain it long term? More importantly, that's what mindful method's all about, right? It's not a quick fix. It's not about giving you a quick diet plan and be like, you're going to be shredded suitcase in 6 weeks.
Mhm.
You likely could if you follow everything I tell you to, but it's more importantly is implementing it into your lifestyle and your routine, and making it work for you. So, if you like high protein, high fat, and you feel good on that and you can sustain it, absolutely do it, right? Having a high fat diet, it really depends on the person too, right? If you have high cholesterol, if you have, if
Yeah.
there's certain indicators there, that your doctor has flagged, it may not be the best thing for you.
Yeah.
That's where that bio individuality, everyone being, individual, really goes a long way. Because if I suggest, so, okay, do keto, and you're like, well, Mike, I've got X, Y, and Z, or I've got a little bit of gut health. Dairy doesn't agree with me if I'm eating a lot of cheese and a lot of eggs, then that's not going to work for you, right? And we got to get back to the drawing board and figure out what will, so that's it's not a quick fix, right? I guess at the end of the day, these
For
diets,
sure.
which I think people are wanting, just to kind of that answer. So
Yeah.
does that help you
Yeah,
there?
no, that's helpful. And then just quickly on the Athlete's Kitchen component, earlier in the meeting you had mentioned, I forget the percentage of what you want to cook at home versus eating out. How does that factor in? Like, because I'm always
Yeah.
pre-made, and I wanted to try out Athlete's Kitchen for a while. Would that
Yeah.
count as something that's cooked at home? Because
Yeah, I would almost consider that as a home cooked meal, even
okay.
though you're not cooking it. So again, like with these services, is being a little bit more selective. The same way when you go out to a restaurant, you can go to a really nice restaurant and like check the menu ahead of time is an easy rule of thumb, right? So that you're not just randomly picking like, oh, that looks good, or I'll try that, or So yeah, with these meal delivery services and Athlete's Kitchen included, is like being a little bit selective of, does yogurt really agree with me first thing in the morning?
Mhm.
Maybe it doesn't. So what else do they have on their menu that I like, that feels good for me, that is going to help me get to where I want to go? Right. I think I'll speak a little bit about that. Like Athlete's Kitchen does do paleo. They do like an athlete's. So if you're looking to build muscle, you got to eat a lot more.
Mhm.
And if you're looking, I think they call it a shred. So if you're
Yep.
looking to really cut, he's broken it down and he's super knowledgeable, and maybe having a call with him would be awesome to kind of hear his story. But he's really reworking and trying to make it very simple for the average consumer to just like not think twice, eat healthy food, and know you're going to almost guarantee and get amazing results from it. So yeah, that's kind of what I'll share. He's a great guy
Okay.
too, Oscar. So
Yeah, we'll maybe do another one of these, and we'll we just like Oscar and we've been trying to talk for a long time, so we just talked like a few days ago, so I was a little late to
Awesome.
conference and
Yeah.
maybe there's something, a group thing later. We get do another seminar like this.
Last question, just from Meg here. Meg, are you able to unmute and do you want to ask your question? Otherwise, I can read it out. The one you sent me. It's on. If not, I'll go through it. So, how to improve sleep? Is active rest day still a rest day? Do you take? I'm actually at work. Okay. So how to improve sleep is how to improve sleep. There's I could talk for another hour here on how to improve your sleep. So first of all, looking at your evening routine. Are you staring at your phone? Is it right next to your bed right when you go down to sleep? Are you working right up until bedtime? Right. So consider the screens in your room. Consider the activities you're doing right before bed. Are you working out? I see some people working out at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night and then have a hard time falling asleep and they wonder why, right? Alcohol is a big one. Whether it's 1 drink or 10 drinks, alcohol will affect your sleep. Absolutely. Whether you think it does or it doesn't allow the body to rest, recover, and reset. Some obvious ones I talk about is blackout blinds, a cool, dark room, sleep mask I love to sleep with, having a comfortable pillow. Having quiet is very important. A lot of these things, we're not taught in school, right? We just got to figure it out, listen to a Huberman podcast or kind of put it together, right, at the end of the day. So there's a lot. You can also track the quality of your sleep. If you're finding your sleep is not where you'd like it to be, things like the Whoop strap, the Aura Ring, these are great wearable pieces of tech that will give you some great stats and data and analytics on what the hell is going on with your sleep. So those are a few things. And Meg, I'm happy to dig into it a little bit more with you if you have specific questions. So is an active rest day still a rest day? Yeah. It really depends on what you're doing. By active, I mean not getting your heart rate up. You're not on the rower, or you're not on the assault bike and riding. It's movement is what I was really getting at there. So not sitting for 8 hours a day. Continue to move, get out for a longer walk. Sundays I love to walk for an hour and a half or 2 hours. Doing a hike that's not too intense. Going for a swim is an awesome complement to strength training if you're training really hard. Taking that downtime, more importantly, is key to that recovery, because this is how we actually grow, build muscle, and recharge, reset, right? That's what StayGold is all about, recharge and repair. So do you take on clients to help set up a meal plan to reach goals? Great question. Yeah, so first and foremost, how I work, and I didn't talk about too much how I work because this was more about just educating you all on habits and nutrition. But before we even consider working together, I try to understand and identify what your biggest problem is. So if you need help creating a meal plan, doing a grocery shop, creating that time in your week, absolutely, this is kind of what I help you solve. Right. And if this is the biggest thing holding you back, I can absolutely help you kind of get through those roadblocks that have been stopping you from getting there. So yeah, if I absolutely work with meal plans for everyone who joined today, I'm also going to be giving away one of my client PDFs on 5 ingredients recipe packs. So thank you guys all for joining. So I'm going to give away that today. And it looks like I think that was all her questions. So hopefully that helps. I do absolutely dig into a lot on the nutrition front, whether it's a meal plan, whether it's a grocery shopping list, whether it's looking at your eating habits like Armando brought up, right? Intermittent fasting, hydration, sleep is a big component of it as well on nutrition. So looking at the whole picture, again, not just what goes in your mouth, but how the quality of your food, the timing of your food. I go into a lot of detail. I think a lot more than some people do in kind of my shoes, but that's a little bit about how I work. So yeah, any other questions there before I let you all run? I appreciate you guys joining today. All right. Well, Joel, hey, thanks for having me on. I hope you guys all found it informative. You learned something, you took away from it. I'm typically there at StayGold. If you haven't seen me, I show up for the cold plunges either Thursday nights or Sundays. If you have questions, I'm on Instagram. If you haven't seen me, you haven't followed me or engaged with me, Coach Mike Levine. If you're curious, you have more questions, feel free to reach out. I will also be giving away my my client recipe pack. So maybe we'll do just a thumbs up for everyone who joined today. I'll take a quick photo. So on 3, 1, 2, and 3. Awesome, guys. Thank you all for joining today. Kat, thanks for joining. Yeah, if you missed it, you want to, you have any other questions, we're going to share the recording. I think Joel's going to be able to send it out. And yeah, perhaps we hope a second one with Oscar would be cool to kind of hear his story and what he's all about. So yeah, awesome, guys. Thank you for joining.
Mike.
Yeah, thanks Joel.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, take care, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.